Hello world, Shelly here, and it's time for another episode of Concealer Fest, and today I'm checking out the new one from L'Oreal, the True Match Serum Concealer. Retails for $15.99 for 0.33 fluid ounces or 10 milliliters of a product. They describe this as L'Oreal's True Match Radiant Serum Concealer provides instant dark circle coverage, visibly depuffs eye bags, and helps iron out fine lines. Yes, please. This lightweight, crease-resistant formula is infused with 1.5% hyaluronic acid plus caffeine to provide 24-hour hydration and all-day wear. This comes in 24 different shades. I've got it in the shade N3. Now, in their True Match foundations, they didn't, at least used to have it broken up between 1 and 2, so there was an N-1 to 2, and that is the one that I typically wore, and it was a little too light for me, so I went with N3 because based on the swatches on the website, it looked like it was going to be a good match. In person, it looks a lot darker, and it's described as light medium, which terrifies me a little bit because it's winter and I'm fair. So we'll find out. We're going to swatch it. We're going to swatch it against a few others in my collection. Swatch time. First up is today's concealer from L'Oreal, the True Match Radiant Serum Concealer in shade N3. Second, I've got from NARS, the Radiant Creamy Concealer in Vanilla. Third up is the Maybelline Age Rewind in Fair. And last I've got from Wet n Wild the Incognito Concealer in Fair Beige. Alright, I am wearing a new product from e.l.f., the Putty Color Correcting Eye Brightener. This really wasn't what I expected. It's more like a balm, like an oil balm, I feel like. And it doesn't really color correct so much as it's just like this is the fair shade, a skin tone, sort of like an oil hydration primer kind of a thing. You know, it's not like orange tinted to counteract dark circles or anything like that. So I do have that applied already, but it's not really what I expected from the name of it. Let's take a look at our applicator here. All right, we got like a triangular, what are we going to call this, a paddle foot? That looks like a nice shape as far as fitting into the inner corner. All right, all right. I have a damp sponge here. We will use that on one side. Ooh, I do like the shape of this. Getting into that inner corner there. I will use the sponge on this side. And we will see, compared against a brush, what the coverage situation is. Having trouble getting my sponge into the corner of my eye because it's a fat sponge. Alright, actually, more coverage than I anticipated with a sponge straight out the gate. You know, sponge is usually a lighter coverage, so I typically use a brush for my concealers. But we've got some coverage happening. Okay, let's get the brush for the other side. I will use my Angie Hot and Flashy. This is from BK Beauty, A506. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a concealer brush, but I love it for concealer because look, do you see the shape of it? Like, boom. That trough is like my mortal enemy. And this shape gets in there. And I like it. I also like that it's a little bit less dense than some of the other concealer brushes because I can do this and like get it right up under my hairline, like the lash line there, but blended nicely. It looks a little more dry when applied with the brush. Like I see my lines a little bit more. I want that ironing out. You said you were going to iron them out. That to me sounds like spandex, and that's what I like. In my under eye area, you said you were going to iron it out. You better iron it out here. It just, I can see my lines a little bit. We're not getting to the ironed out thing, but this might be a situation for the sponge. Let me get a little more product to even out the coverage here. And I'm going to take the sponge over here and see if it's just like an excess product situation happening. Because that is one of the things with concealer. Excess product can cause so many problems. And I almost always, even when I do apply with a brush, I will go back in and tap out, even with a dry sponge, just to make sure I got nothing sitting under there that's going to move around, settle into lines, freeze lines in place. You know, I just don't want excess. It looks a little nicer after you go back with a sponge. I'm going to say sponge with this one. I feel like it just looks nicer with a sponge. All right, let's zoom in so you can look at what I'm looking at. I would not say it ironed out my lines. I still see all of them, but it's not accentuating them, it's not settling into them, and it's not freezing around them at this point. So, you know, those would be my complaints when it comes to lines. My left eye where I started, you know, the nose ring side where I started with the sponge looks smoother than the side I started with the brush. I don't know if that is because of a sponge versus brush thing or if it's just coincidence today. That's how my eyes are looking. But coverage, I would call it nice medium coverage. I can still see some purple coming through, especially in the inner corners of those troughs in my eyes alongside my nose, but generally I'd call it medium coverage. I think it's looking all right. Question's going to be, is it going to depuff a little bit? Because I am a little bit puffy today. I am a little puffy. We'll see if that depuff claim holds up and whether or not it does anything strange when it dries down. Let's hope not. Let me go check the time. It is 1:30. Let me go put the rest of my face on. I will be right back. Back with the True Match Serum Concealer. I have had to go in with my concealer brush and just blur it out a couple of times to get the product so it wouldn't freeze along my under eye lines. And when I do that, it smooths it out for a little while. Hopefully that'll stay because I can't just keep messing with my concealer all day. That's the last time I'm gonna do it. So hopefully that was enough and we'll be good. Had no issues with blending or anything like that. Everything seems to be going well. Everything I'm wearing is linked down below. Gonna go to Ulta, pick up a couple things. Gonna go get a sandwich. It's really gloomy outside today. Yeah, it's gonna be a gloomy day. I will come back tonight. We'll see how this wore. We'll see if it stayed put. We'll see how it degrades over time. We'll check all the things. I will see you guys in a bit. 11:51 p.m. Let's take a look at how the L'Oreal True Match Serum Concealer held up. I think it held up really nicely. Most of the coverage is still there. A little bit has just sort of vanished over time because, you know, what has it been? What are we at, like 10 hours right now? So let's zoom in. You guys can see what I'm looking at here. I feel like a little bit more purple under my eyes is visible, but it did not move around at all. It did not settle into lines at all. And most of the coverage, I would say, is still there. The only thing that I really have issue with is that it didn't do that ironing out that it promised it would. It did kind of freeze my lines into place just a little bit. Not terribly bad. Actually, it looked quite nice, and it still does look quite nice at the end of the day. But, you know, when you make a promise like that, you know, the people with lines want to see the ironing out happening, you know what I'm saying? But overall, I think it held up really well. My under eyes do not feel dry or uncomfortable. I don't feel like it is dehydrating me at all. And the coverage is nice. And I would say, if I had to give a grade, To the L'Oreal True Match. What is the proper name of this? Serum. I'm looking at the French side. That's not going to work. Radiant Serum Concealer. I did take French in 4th grade, but all I remembered is how to say where's the beef? Because those commercials, those Wendy's commercials were out when I was in 4th grade at that time, and I can say my name is Shelly. That's all I can say. If I had to give a grade to the L'Oreal True Match, I'm going to give it an A. I'm going to give it like a mid-range A. I think it holds up to most of its claims. It's quite nice. I like it. There you have it. Another episode of Foundation Fest. Oh, Concealer Fest is in the books. If you like concealer reviews, if you had fun with this one, give me a thumbs up down below. Let me know in the comments, what should I try next? What would you like to see? I do have the ColourPop No Filter Concealer here. Do you want to see that? Let me know in the comments. Join me over on Patreon for behind the scenes stuff, and I share whenever I come across like really good sales and stuff like that. And yeah, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. I appreciate your time. I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.